On a stormy night, John Mitchell, a simple man leading an ordinary life, stops to help an injured stranger on the side of the road. Little does he know, this small act of kindness will set off a chain of events that will turn his world upside down. Mysterious letters, eerie encounters, and a life-changing revelation follow, forcing John to make a choice that could alter his future forever. What begins as a simple good deed quickly spirals into something far bigger than he could have ever imagined. What would you do if a single act of kindness changed your entire life? Welcome to Limelight Tales. Stay with me as we uncover a story full of twists and an unexpected fate. John Mitchell was living the kind of life that most people didn't notice, even if they were standing right next to him. A 32-year-old retail associate, he had worked hard to scrape by in a small, bustling apartment on the edge of the city. John had long ago accepted that he wasn't going to have the high-paying job or the glamorous lifestyle that many of his peers seemed to enjoy. His routine was simple and repetitive: work, struggle to pay off loans, eat something quick, sleep, and repeat. The little things in life, though, made him feel at peace. His neighbors, an elderly couple, often asked for his help with groceries or chores. They had no family, and John didn't mind helping them out. It was nothing extraordinary, just small acts of kindness. Nothing in his life could have prepared him for what was about to unfold. It was late, and a heavy rainstorm made the road to his apartment slippery. The streets were deserted as John drove his old car, the headlights illuminating the glistening wet asphalt. As he passed through a quiet stretch of road, he saw a figure lying on the side, barely visible through the downpour. At first, John thought it was a trick of the light, but as he got closer, he saw the person's limp body, twisted and still. His heart pounded, and an inexplicable urge to stop overcame him. He didn't question why. He just did it. He pulled over and rushed out into the rain. The man, appearing to be in his early 40s, had a bloodied face and a twisted leg. His clothing, though drenched, looked expensive: designer shoes, a high-end coat. John wasn't sure what had happened, but he knew the man needed help. "Please, help me," the stranger mumbled in a faint voice as John knelt beside him, trying to assess the damage. There was no one else around. John didn't hesitate. His mind raced, but the decision was simple. He needed to help. He carefully lifted the man into his car. Despite the pouring rain and the confusion swirling in his mind, every bump in the road felt longer than the last as he sped toward the nearest hospital. The stranger didn't speak much, his breaths shallow, his eyes half-closed. But as they reached the hospital, he managed to whisper, "Thank you. You'll know soon." John, still shaken, stayed with the man until the doctors confirmed he would be okay. They said the man would be under observation for a while, but he was stable. He could leave. John, still feeling uneasy, asked the doctors if they knew who the man was, but they didn't. He was just another patient for them. It was early morning when John returned home, exhausted. He barely had time to put his things down before he noticed a plain envelope sitting on his doorstep. The handwriting on the envelope was elegant, refined. Someone had taken care with it. He opened it slowly, heart racing in anticipation. "Thank you for your kindness. You will know soon. Be ready." The words made his skin prickle. He thought of the man at the hospital. Could this note be from him? John had barely done anything out of the ordinary, yet the note felt like a message that carried weight. Days passed, and John tried to put the odd encounter out of his mind. Life seemed to return to normal, but things didn't stay normal for long. Strange occurrences began happening. A dark car started appearing whenever John walked to his car, parked down the street, and watching him for minutes before driving off. Once, John glanced out of his window and saw someone standing across the street, staring directly at his apartment. He had no idea who it was, just a shadowy figure under a hood. At work, things seemed off too. The store manager, whom John had always gotten along with, suddenly started acting strangely. She pulled him aside one day and told him she had a special offer. He was to receive a promotion, an unexpected one considering how lean the company's operations were. John didn't question it, though he felt a strange unease in the pit of his stomach. This didn't feel like a reward for his hard work. Then came the phone calls. They started out simple, just static. Then the breath. Heavy, erratic breathing. Then nothing. And every time he answered, the same feeling of dread crawled up his spine. The unease escalated when a delivery man knocked on his door, bringing a package addressed to him. Inside was a burner phone, old but functional. It was pre-programmed with one number. When John called it, a voice on the other end barely whispered, "They're watching. Be careful." His mind spiraled. He felt like he was losing control of his life, and it terrified him. His instincts told him to ignore everything, to go about his life, but something about all of this made him think it wasn't random. The next day, a new letter arrived. Another cryptic message. This time, it wasn't just a warning. It was a directive. "You'll find the answers tonight. Go to this address. Do not turn back." The address was on the outskirts of the city. It was a mansion, grand and intimidating, standing alone against the night sky. John parked at the gates, where a guard silently waved him through. His heart was pounding. There was no turning back. Inside the mansion, John was led through the dimly lit hallways to a large room. The doors opened, and there, sitting in a leather chair, was the man from the hospital. The same face, but now different. Well-dressed, his injuries long healed. "Sit, John." The man's voice was calm, collected. "I imagine you're wondering what's going on." John stood frozen, his mind racing. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" "I'm Victor Calloway, and you've just passed my test." John's stomach churned. "Test?" he repeated, incredulous. Victor stood, walking slowly toward him. "I've been watching you for months, John. Your actions didn't go unnoticed. When I staged the accident, I knew someone would stop. Someone like you. The kind of person who would do the right thing without hesitation, without asking for anything in return." John's mind was reeling. "But I didn't do anything special." Victor chuckled softly. "That's the beauty of it, John. You didn't do it for recognition. You didn't do it for gain. You just did it because it was the right thing to do. You see, I've been searching for someone to inherit my legacy, my wealth, my fortune, and you, John, are the one I've chosen." John's heart raced. "What are you talking about? This can't be real." Victor smiled and placed a large, leather-bound file on the table. "It's real. Everything is real. Inside this file is a list. People who need help, communities, families, children. I'm leaving it all to you." John opened the file slowly. He found that it contained not just details of Victor's vast wealth, but a plan, a blueprint for change. "You will be my successor, John. You will carry my fortune and use it for good. You've earned it." But as Victor spoke, the weight of his words hit John with full force. It wasn't just money. It was the power to change lives, to make decisions that would impact entire communities. Was he ready for that? Could he handle the responsibility? Before he could fully process what was happening, Victor handed him one final note. "The choice is yours. You can walk away. You can leave it all behind. Or you can step into my shoes and change the world. John's hands trembled as he held the note. The suspense hung in the air. Was he ready to take on this responsibility? Would he rise to the challenge, or would the weight of it crush him? As the room fell silent, John realized this was no ordinary chance. This was a test of everything he had ever stood for, and it was only just beginning. As John sat there, the weight of Victor's words pressing down on him, he couldn't help but feel the magnitude of what was being offered. The mansion, the fortune, the responsibility. It was all so overwhelming. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that this was more than just money or power. It was about something far greater than that. Victor, seeing John's hesitation, smiled knowingly. It's not about the wealth, John. It's about the choices you make, the legacy you create, not just for yourself, but for everyone you can help. John's fingers tightened around the file as the reality of his situation sank in. He could walk away. He could leave it all behind, go back to his simple life. But there was something in his heart telling him that this wasn't just about him. It was about using the opportunity to make a difference, to be someone who helped, who gave when it wasn't easy. It wasn't the fortune that mattered. It was the impact of his actions. Victor's voice broke through his thoughts again. You've already shown me what kind of man you are, John. You've already proven yourself. Now, it's time to choose. Will you step up, or will you walk away? John sat in silence, looking at the list of families, the children who needed help, the communities that were struggling. A single thought ran through his mind. This is bigger than me. Finally, he stood, lifting the file from the table. His decision made. He looked at Victor, the man who had orchestrated this entire test, and nodded. I'll do it. I'll carry on your legacy, but I'll make it my own. I'll do what's right for them. Victor's eyes softened. I knew you would. Remember, John, the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the greatest changes. John left the mansion, holding the file close. As he walked through the gates, the weight of his decision settled on him. It was no longer about what he could gain. It was about how his actions could change the world around him. He had made a choice to step into a future where he could be the difference. And as the world outside awaited his next move, John understood one thing clearly. The smallest acts of kindness can lead to the greatest changes. As you've seen, sometimes the simplest actions can set off a chain of events that change not just our lives, but the lives of many others. Never underestimate the power of kindness. Every choice you make, no matter how small, can leave a lasting impact. Remember, it's not about what you gain, but what you give. Keep making the right choices. The world needs more people like you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others to support the channel. Your support helps us bring more stories to life. See you in the next one.